So what you might have figured out already is that every video contains a transcript as well, or transcript/literature. So we highly recommend to read that literature because that takes you to a next level regarding the topics. That's where you will find more information or more explanation about these topics. These are just the short introductory videos where we give you a high-level overview. It doesn't cover your exam. So for your exam, you need to dive into these literatures, as well as these slides, of course. So what you've learned from previous session is that you now know that there are two main types of innovation, radical and incremental. We just discussed a further thinking whether incremental innovation is evolutionary, where radical information is revolutionary. You can always post your answers in the Slack. This time we're going to take you to the next part. Okay, very cool, radical or incremental innovation, but what does it influence? What does it impact? Well, in short, 4 different types of components that you can influence. You can either do a radical new process in your organization or a radical new product, but you also do some incremental innovation regarding your product. So what are these topics? And I'm deliberately not telling you about the 5th one that we will keep for the end of this session. The paradigm shift is a new focus, a new orientation of your caused by either radical or incremental innovation. So what is a paradigm shift? Let me speak for a moment. Yeah, that's just an entirely new way of thinking. So this one is quite an intensive one. It's this one is the one that I personally love. The product is also a very cool one because there are many famous examples of innovations in products. It could either be an incremental one like iPhone 7 to iPhone 8 or an entirely new concept. I always like the example of Kodak, for example, you know, or possibly you don't know, that by their own doing. They used to have the cameras where you need to scroll and then click and then you have a physical photo. They actually invented the digital photo camera. So that was 30 years ago, but they decided not to continue with the digital photo camera because they thought that people would always prefer a physical photograph instead of a digital photograph. So they invented their own demise, and eventually their competition, I think it was Sony or Samsung, I think it was Sony, caught on their invention and took it to the next level, disrupting themselves without, number 3, getting some advantage. So product innovation, very interesting as well. Process innovation is how do you improve your processes? Are you doing minor tweaks? Like, for example, normally it would take an hour to fill a cup of ice creams, and now you will do it in 50 minutes. Or are you going to do it entirely differently? For example, how are we going to deliver the ice cream to the customers? Are we letting the customers come to the supermarket, like for example the Jumbo or the Albert Heijn here in the Netherlands? Or are we going to deliver it towards them via a picnic on door-by-door basis? Entirely new process. And also, as you might have already noticed, it's also a very gray area sometimes. Sometimes you're in a paradigm shift because you change your processes. Sometimes by changing your process, you change your product as well. So it's not always as black as white as I just show you. It's like the HBDI profile. You've got a little bit of everything, but also a higher tendency for one of these aspects. But now you know how to place the innovation, and that's important because if you know where to place the innovation, you know how you can manage it. And how to manage it we will teach you later on. Forgot to mention the last one, the position. One of the most famous examples of this one is, for example, Coca-Cola, where you started out as a medicine, actually consisting parts of cocaine, interesting fact there, eventually turning it into some black liquid that's been sold all over the world. I think it's sold in nearly every country, but that for later on. So hopefully you understand that radical and incremental innovation can consist of or can influence multiple parts. These 4 parts were in previous literature the main components, but thanks to the internet technology we now have a new one. I can't find my red. Oh, let me we've now got a platform economy as well. So think about YouTube or Facebook, or in our case, Koios, where you are actually your aim is trying to create a platform with users and a sort of a family feeling, stuff like that. Totally new, different component, others than these. You might catch this one up and put it somewhere in one of these parts as well. There's a bit of debate about this, but for now, just call this model the 4Ps plus 1P model. That's the practical approach. So in short, we've got 4 components where you can apply innovation, whether it's incremental or radical. And we've got a new one upcoming, a platform. As you might have noticed, they are booming very fast. Imagine a world without the current platforms. And that might be a further thinking question. So we will see you in next session where we're going to discuss about how to process or how to manage, innovation.